Pakistan has hopes tied to an international monetary fund program, which is nowhere near realization. It is an agreement for revival of the extended fund facility, which is expected to conclude by June 19th. But as certain matters remained unsettled, the deal remains in limbo. On June 10th, Pakistan's newly elected government presented a 9.52 trillion Pakistani rupee budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023. The government is targeting to secure the passage of the budget from the National Assembly on June 27th to 28th. For that, it has reached an agreement with the IMF so that the agreed measures could be protected in the budget. However, reports claim that IMF still has reservations over 9.5 trillion rupee expenditures for the next fiscal year. According to IMF estimates, the budget's revenue measures are also insufficient to deliver slightly over 7 trillion rupee target. To be legally implemented with the effect from July 1st, which is the new financial year for Pakistan, the budget has to be passed by Parliament by June 28th. Meanwhile, as citizens are at the receiving end of soaring inflation, Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party staged nationwide protests against the rising inflation. On Sunday evening, hundreds of protesters gathered in Islamabad to rally against high prices and the current government. The protests were called by former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Similar protests were held in Karachi, where a large number of police officials were deployed. Imran Khan had urged the public to stage a peaceful demonstration against what he called the PMLN-led governments incapable of handling the economy. In the week gone by, the inflation hit 3.38% compared to the previous week. In a matter of weeks, the Shehbaz Sharif government has lifted all subsidies from petroleum products. An energy crisis has led to closure of markets early in certain cities like Karachi. In a recorded video message, Imran Khan warned that inflation would soar even higher in days to come if the nation kept sitting idly. Khan served as Prime Minister for over 3.5 years until he was ousted by a no-confidence vote in Parliament in April. Since then, Khan has held rallies with thousands of people across the country. In his latest speech, Imran Khan said he had asked people to take to the streets against inflation for their own good. He also warned that more price hikes and inflation are in the offing.
जो करप्ट लोग हैं, जो जिनकी हमें सारी तारीख पता है, बाहर बैठे हुए इनके लीडर्स, पैसे बाहर बैठे हुए हैं, वहां से बैठ के इस मुल्क को कंट्रोल कर रहे हैं, और जिधर इनके पैसे पड़े हुए हैं वो उन मुल्कों से ही कंट्रोल हो रहे हैं। इस मुल्क की ना इन्होंने आज़ादी रहने दी है, ना इन्होंने इदारे चलने देने हैं, ना इन्होंने जमहूरियत चलने देनी है। इन्होंने जितनी देर ये आएंगे इस मुल्क को मजीद और नुकसान पहुंचाएंगे सिर्फ अपने आप को ऊपर मुसल्लत करने के लिए।
Meanwhile, Imran Khan supporters at the protest decry the rise in commodity prices in comparison to that in the previous government. Many are even ready to vote and bring Imran Khan back in power.
जी बिल्कुल, प्राइसेस बहुत ज्यादा हो गई है, पेट्रोल की कीमतें बहुत ज्यादा हो गई, इन्होंने महंगाई बहुत ज्यादा कर दी है। तो खान साहब के टाइम पे ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था, बिल्कुल महंगाई नॉर्मल थी, लोड शेडिंग बिल्कुल नहीं थी, लेकिन इन्होंने बहुत ज्यादा टू मच की। आई विल नेवर एक्सेप्ट दिस गवर्नमेंट, बट हम खान साहब को ला के रहेंगे, हर कीमत पे ला के रहेंगे। हमें ये हुकूमत बिल्कुल नहीं चाहिए, कभी किसी कीमत पे नहीं चाहिए, एब्सोल्युटली नॉट।
हमारे रिसोर्सेज के ऊपर कब्जा हो गया, ये काबिज ग्रुप है और हम इसके खिलाफ खड़े हैं। इंशाल्लाह जब खान साहब हमें कहेंगे हम बाहर निकलेंगे। ऊपर से नलेकों ने आगे हमारी महंगाई के मतलब है, जो महंगाई ग्रेजुअली थोड़ी ऊपर जाती है, एकदम से पूरे का पूरा ऊपर ले गए। आमदन लोगों की है नहीं है, तो जाए तो हम जाएंगे।
Our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik has sent us this report from Ground Zero. Take a look.
The United States has reportedly agreed to help Pakistan while the country strives to seek an IMF bailout. Now, what is to be noted is that the US has a considerable amount of leverage, being the biggest shareholder on the IMF, in the IMF as well, and that is something that Pakistan wanted. Pakistan had sought the US's support with regards to mediation or facilitation for the IMF program, and in these regards we earlier saw last week that the Pakistani Finance Minister Miftah Ismail had met the US ambassador designate for Pakistan, Ambassador Donald Bloom, who has arrived just last month. And then this past Saturday, we saw the meeting of the Pakistani ambassador in DC with the US trade representative for South and Central Asia. That hints that Pakistan and US are trying to mend their gaps, and the US can possibly use its leverage or influence, considerable leverage or influence that it has on the organization, in order for Pakistan to secure a bailout program as the country battles one of its worst economic crises. Anas Malik in Islamabad, Pakistan for WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.